Hello and welcome to the second of our series on the basic tools and techniques in Inkscape. So in this one we're going to just look at the shape tools that we explored last time in a little bit more detail. So we created squares using the rectangle tool, the quick key for that is R. We had the circle and ellipse tool, so the quick key for that is E, so I'm just going to press E and drag and create a circle, and then the star tool, the quick key for that, so it always shows you if you hover over, and that's a asterisk. It's the asterisk on a UK keyboard, a Shift 8, not the one on the numeric keypad. That does something rather different. So I'm just going to select that and bring that down, because I forget that when you create a star, it actually creates it in the middle from where you drag, where the others tend to start from the top left. So if I double click, it's taken me back into the rectangle tool. So I can simply select the rectangle tool and select the object, and that's what you get when you first create it. So you have two handles. Now these are used for changing the size and position, and in this case we've got a round handle as well. Now what this does is create round corners. If you've moved one, you then find another round handle underneath, and actually that means you can have the radius of the two round corners is different. Now I can't imagine that's something particularly useful, but the standard one is really nice, give you a really professional finish on lots of things. As I mentioned in the first session, that if you find you've got round corners and you can't remember how to get rid of them, on the tool control bar, so when you select the square tool, the tool control bar comes up. The last tool along it is what I call the get out of jail free card, if you ever get into a problem. So it's got whatever settings you last used, so I'm getting all my rectangles are now having round corners, and I might not need them. So this one is make corners sharp, and then I've gone back to a nice regular one. On the circle tool, so I'll just press circle, select that again. Again, I've got the two handles that control size and shape, and in this case there is again a round handle, but it does something very different. So I'm going to do that. Now above us on the tool control bar, when I've got a full circle, these last four icons are actually greyed out, but the moment I do something like that, they come into play. Now the first one creates almost a sort of Pac-Man. It tends to flip between them. It's a bit wayward that way, but it's easily fixed. Next is a sort of open, hollowed shape, then one with a closure on it, and then when in doubt, go back to a circle. The other numbers up here are the radius of the circle, so the X, which is left to right, and Y, which is top to bottom, like school graphs, and then the numbers here are the start and the end of where the curve begins and finishes. This is really useful, for instance, if you want to have some text on a curve in a design, then you might be wanting to accurately work out where the text starts. The star doesn't have a round handle, but it has two diamond shaped handles or square handles, but at 45 degrees. Now these do something quite different. So the outer one will affect effectively the points of the arrow. You can even sort of invert it, and the inner one is the insides of each point. What's lovely about this particular thing is you can make it dance, but you can start to actually cross over and make some really, really beautiful designs. The control bar, I showed you last time that will turn it to a shape, that will turn it back into a star. We can change the number of corners, so I could type in 10 and we get a 10 pointed star, or I've got the plus and minus buttons, or what I found easiest, and this is a recent improvement, is if I click in there and use the mouse wheel, I can increase it by 1 at a time, or if I hold control down and do that, then actually it will do it 5 at a time, so I can very quickly go to a ridiculous number of points. And most boxes which have numbers in them now, this click and use the mouse wheel or control mouse wheel for greater shifts is sort of a new standard in Inkscape. So with the spoke ratio, that's how long and thin the points of the star are. So if I control shift that, you can see I'm making it. It's almost like an Islamic tile, that one. It was 2 overlapping squares. Rounded, you guessed it, create roundedness. Use subtly, you can do some very nice things with that, and again you can create really precise stars that you can't make in any other way. You can't, if you sat down with protractors and pencils and drawing equipment and tried to construct that, it would be nigh on impossible. Randomised is fun to play with, but it very quickly takes you to strange places. If you wanted a truly strange shape, just a sort of inspiration or to break up a design, then that's great, but it's not a star anymore. It's best to put naught into that. So any numeric box, you can just type in a number, you can add, subtract, you can also use the mouse wheel. The other thing you can do is, on virtually anything, I can say 8, I can just type in +3, and it will do the sums for you. That comes in very useful for some other things later on. So each of these shapes has a menu up here linking to it, sort of what you'd want from that particular sort of shape. The select tool also has a set of commands. Now these are very powerful, some of which you'll need to use often, some of which less so. If I select this circle here, we've got rotate, so this is 90 degrees. These mirror, can't really tell the difference with a circle, but they're quite handy. This set, I told you that how each time you create a shape, it's on top of the next shape. So these are actually how you change the order. So if I put it, the first one is send to the bottom. So if I click on that, it's now underneath all the other shapes, and then I can raise it up one by one, or drop it down, and if I just want to bring it right to the front, that comes in very useful. The next shows the position on the page, in this case in millimeters. Double check, because there are different units. It can be centimeters, millimeters, inches, quite often pixels, which again, if I'm doing stuff for video, then pixels are a better measure. And so that's the X and the Y are the position of the top left corner. If you're using a newer version of Inkscape, the old versions, it's the bottom left corner. And then it has the width and the height. Now you can padlock these together, so if I want that to be twice the size, I can just put my cursor in the width box, and I'm going to type ×2, press enter. Now because I've got the padlock, the height is going to adjust to ×2 as well, so that's doubled the size of that, and it's kept it with the same top left position. So that's a quick view of the tool control bar and how it adjusts according to each of the tools you've used. So you can now go ahead and create some really far more precisely chosen shapes. Have fun with that, and we'll see you in the next tutorial. Thank you.